we have future Hall of Famer Mike White playing in a showdown slate on Thursday night against the Colts. Ellie, what was crazier, the fact that Mike White threw for 400 yards and led the league in passing, or the guy who dropped $1,000 on him to do so, winning like 120K? That had to have been his dad, right?
Yeah, it was either his dad or a guy who can afford to wipe his ass with $1,000. Like, I don't
know who makes that bet. I mean, if it was like $100, okay, I kind of get it. It's stupid, but $1,000. Anyways, that guy made more money than Mike White did last week playing. So.
yeah, and so actually, I saw something on Twitter the other night or last night, and it said it was a radio broadcaster, and he from the Jets. District, whatever the hell you call it, state, whatever. Anyways, I guess one of his callers called in and said, I don't understand why we didn't try and shop Mike White for a first round pick, or at least Zach Wilson for maybe a sixth or a seventh. And he's like, the Jets are back, baby.
Yeah,
like that's
exactly.
I mean, like, as somebody who is a Cardinals fan, I've been there before, right? Max Hall had a touchdown. Trade him.
Yeah.
Trade him now for a second round pick, right?
But yeah, exactly.
They're crazy, bro.
I think he played okay. He played against the Bengals, who were the number one seed in the AFC. It was a good game. I think that's more of a Bengals letdown game, more than Mike White is the next Peyton Manning. I think
it's the NFL, bro. Like the Bengals just had a very nasty and emotional victory against Baltimore. I mean, the week before.
Yeah, exactly.
It happens. It's a trap game. The Cardinals are like one of the few teams that didn't have a trap game yet, right? Yeah. So I mean, even the Niners, or not the Niners, but the Rams, they beat the hell out of the Bucks. The next week they got their, they weren't able to hang with Arizona. Yeah, we see it all the time. So yeah, I'm not going to put too much stock in Mike White's 405.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that at his price tag, he's a good play this week, especially going against the Colts pass defense. And both of these running backs absolutely went off last week for the Jets. Now they had 20 targets between two of them, and Michael Carter had 14 just by himself. So I do think that this week we can look at these running backs for the Jets a little bit. There's probably 6 wide receivers for the Jets that I'll play. Like, I'm not going to hold back on these Jets wide receivers. There's so many options here. You had multiple guys with touchdown opportunities. I think everything is going to be inflated, obviously, because you had a high-scoring game last week, and Mike White threw for 400 yards. So everybody seems like, oh, these are good players because they had one good week. I don't think we can overreact that way, but what I am saying is every one of these receivers has the opportunity to score a touchdown this week, and they're priced pretty well. And we've got Corey Davis out again, or at least he's doubtful. So that opens up a lot of options for the Jets. I'm actually really excited about this game because I think it could be a fun game. I like these like shitty games. Like I like the Jacksonville versus, I don't know, the Bengals on Thursday night, or so. I like these kind of games that like aren't really, you have to really dive deep to know who a lot of these players are. So you get a little bit of an edge just by kind of knowing who the backups are. A lot of these guys aren't household names, so they're going to go under-owned. We've got one guy who's $200 on this slate, who's the third wide receiver for the Colts, who, I don't know, we're going to talk about him, but I think he's the best value on the slate, but there's a ton of other value to get into. So anyways, before we get going, we appreciate all the support recently. We've been getting a decent amount of views lately. We appreciate that. Go ahead and subscribe, like. It really helps us out. We really appreciate the support. Let's get into the injuries here. So there's a little bit to talk about. I mean, I don't think we're going to be waiting on a lot of injury news for this game, thankfully. Obviously, Ellie brought up a good point before we got on the air here about, COVID right now is kind of, we're getting some outbreaks here and there. Talk to us real quick, just kind of what we should be looking for here before we just to be diligent, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be much of an impact of this game. Just given what we saw with the Giants testing, I think they had 15 or 16 positives, and they retested the next day, and only one of them was actually positive. Yeah. I think it's just something to keep in mind of. Could be a bad batch of tests somewhere in the NFL, but just the amount of issues we've seen this week from both NFL and NBA, it's something to be mindful of. You don't know who these players came in contact with, and just one of the weird things about the NFL rules is vaccinated players do not have to get tested They get tested every 10 days.
Yeah.
Non-vaccinated players get tested every day. So you have no idea which one of these vax players is carrying something around. So any day you could lose people. So
and we don't know and we've learned that we don't know who's vaxxed and who's not vaxxed at this point, to be honest.
Right. I'm immunized.
Yeah, immunized. Yeah.
Whatever that means. So it's just something to be mindful of. I don't think it's going to impact tonight's game. But
yeah,
always.
Especially for this weekend too. All right. So Corey Davis is doubtful. He hasn't played. He hasn't practiced this week. He missed last week. Doesn't look like he's going to play. As of now, we will consider him out for this show. But obviously keep an eye on it. If he's upgraded to questionable, that he might actually get a chance to play, but I don't think he will. T.Y. Hilton is out again. He played a little bit last week, got hurt again. I think it's a concussion possibly for him. Paris Campbell's still out with a foot injury. Tevin Coleman was questionable to play for the Jets, but he was officially out, which makes it nice because now we really don't have to worry about like a 49er situation where there's like 4 guys that could potentially get snaps. I think that's pretty much it when it comes to injuries. I don't think we have to really worry about much else. So let's actually look at this line here. This is an interesting. The total is medium to low, 46 total. Looks like, man, Indy's, look, I like Indy. Like, I think they're a solid team. I think they're much better than the Jets, but minus 517 on the money line and a 10.5 favorite. Am I overplaying this Jets victory to think that they're a halfway decent team? Or is this kind of a little bit of a high spread?
I don't know, man. I think the spread's right. Indianapolis has been playing pretty well as of late. Carson Wentz apparently is a real quarterback, and Jonathan Taylor's been doing okay. The defense has been there. I think the one thing that we haven't been properly accounting for in some of these Thursday night games is the short week, and in this particular game, the Jets literally have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If they lose this game, and everyone says, "Hey, we're the Jets."
Yeah.
But the Jets can come out there and play. Like Mike White, he's still playing for potential contract.
He's got nothing to lose. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we've seen this before. We've seen this on a short week, and again, Indianapolis just had an overtime game. Against one of the best running backs, most physical running backs in the NFL. I understand he got hurt, but he still had 25 carries. That's a lot against a good defense.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that there's the opportunity for this to be a little bit closer. I think we hit the under just as far as the total goes, but I still think that this spread could be closer to 6.5 by the time we get to kickoff.
Yeah, interesting. All right, let's get right into this breakdown. We're going to try to obviously make this show, keep it under 50 minutes. We do have chapter markers. We are premiering this, so you guys can chat with us during the premiere. After that, you can go through the chapter markers and kind of skip to wherever you need to, but I encourage you to listen to as much of this as we can because we do kind of bring up different points throughout the show that we don't specifically keep to one area. So let's get into it. All right. So we're going to get into the breakdown here. We're starting with quarterbacks. Carson Wentz, 10.8K. Mike White, 9.8K. I think Mike White is priced well. You like to see an unproven quarterback that has potential at 9,800. I would have liked to see him a little bit lower, but I thought they were going to price him up quite a bit just because of that one game. I thought he would be over 10K, but I like his price here. So Carson Wentz, look, they lost that game against the Titans in overtime, and it's partially because of that terrible interception he threw basically in his own end zone. Instead of just taking the safety, he threw the interception for a touchdown. Really screwed the team over. It ended up going to overtime. They did end up tying it and everything, but I think at that point your team is a little demoralized considering they have to come back. 51 attempts last week, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 68 rating. Nothing really to write home about, but look, the thing about Carson Wentz is he makes you care just enough, and he makes you see a glimmer of hope in his performance just enough that you don't hate him. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's a decent NFL quarterback with high potential, but makes stupid mistakes. And I don't think you have to play Carson Wentz this week. At that price tag, I really don't. You got a guy like Jonathan Taylor. You got a solid run game. The New York Jets defense is nothing to write home about. This could be a situation where the Colts get out to a big lead, and Carson Wentz won't need to throw 50 times. So thoughts on Wentz, 10.8K, Mike White at 9.8K. Me personally, I think I'm going to go heavy Mike White. You got a team that's potentially could be losing in the third quarter by 2-3 touchdowns. He's going to be passing the ball quite a bit. He had 31 fantasy points last week. That's an outlier performance, obviously. I don't expect him to get another 31 points, but maybe he's in the 20 range. You know, a guy throws the ball 40-plus times, he's going to have quite a bit of opportunity. So just thoughts on these quarterbacks. I think you could fade one, possibly two, don't you think? In your lineups. Don't fade them across the board, but per lineup, you could decide to say, you know what, I don't want to do any quarterbacks in a couple lineups.
Yeah, I honestly think this is going to sound crazy, but I think you might be better off fading Wentz over Mike White just because, at a 10-point spread is a lot for an opposing team to overcome. So I think that implies that Mike White is going to have an opportunity to get some volume up. Carson Wentz, I think you can capture all the offense with Indy between Michael Pittman Jr., MPJ, the NFL's MPJ, and Jonathan Taylor Thomas. So
yeah.
I think between those two guys and their pricing, I'm going to prioritize them over Carson Wentz. But we need to keep an eye on where ownership goes to for Carson. If Wentz, he comes in under 35%, as we get closer to lock, then I'm going to love him. But right now, I expect he's closer to 50-55, right?
He's going to be, he's going to be the highest owned player on the slate. There's a chance there's a chance. Well, and captain, he's the highest owned captain. I think he's going to come in around 50+% in the flex, 20% in the captain, which I don't like.
That's crazy.
I'm not playing him at all at captain. There's no I don't think there's a reason to. I don't think there's a reason why he should be the highest owned captain. There are so many other better. I know that you're going against the Jets defense, but MPJ, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, those are the guys I want to target for the Colts. And if I'm taking flyers, I'm going to the Jets for a random ceiling game from one of these guys. I don't think you have to get too crazy with the quarterbacks. I like both these guys, but I actually am higher on Mike White because of his price, and I think that he's going to be passing like crazy in this game. I just think so. All right, so let's go to running backs. Let's start with Indy here. So look, you're in. Excuse me. You're in. Indianapolis adjacent there. You're sort of in the suburbs, so you get to hear some of the local radio. So you're kind of tuned into some of this stuff. So I'm going to default to you on a lot of this stuff. I know you're a Cardinals fan just like me, so you're not necessarily obsessed with Indy, but being in the town, it really does help out a little bit. Me personally, I'm just going to skip right to Marlon Mack. He's at $800. I think I might be done with the Marlon Mack experience because he didn't even get a carry last week. He wasn't on the field at all last week, from what I can tell. I didn't see him. He got 0% of the snaps at running back. I think they wanted to potentially try to trade him, and I don't know why they didn't. But I think Marlon Mack, I think it might be done for him at this point. I liked him in a few of those games, and he did have some opportunity. But I think if you play Marlon Mack, I really think
it's a trap.
I really do. I'm done with the Marlon Mack experience, and of course, I bet you he'll score a touchdown this week. But I'm going to lay off of him. Nyheim Hines, 5,600.
Hold on, I got to cut you off, bro. First of all, great soundbite there. We're going to get kicked off of YouTube for that though. But that was a great one. But yeah, no, I need to say you're dead on about Marlon Mack. There's just no way he's going to continue to get volume, and the way that Jonathan Taylor Thomas has been playing, it just. Yeah, it's too hard to get Mack involved. Now, again, this would be a good matchup to take a couple flyers on him.
Yeah.
Just because, if they are up 10, 15 points, we're not going to see Nyheim Hines. He's going to get involved in passing situations.
Yeah.
So Marlon Mack could get a couple extra carries just because of that. But yeah, you're right, bro.
And Nyheim Hines is 5,600. I don't like him much either.
Yeah.
I just don't. I think Jonathan Taylor is the 1A, 1B. And then you've got Nyheim Hines as kind of your secondary option. I think he's a great backup, and he would be he could possibly be a starter on some teams in the league. but I don't think you need him. You're talking about, in my opinion, Jonathan Taylor is a top 5 running back now in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, look at his past 6 weeks or 5 weeks. I mean, he's had a touchdown
insane.
every week, man.
Absolutely insane. Look at that. I mean, this guy is on fire. He's getting 15 attempts pretty much every game. He's getting targets every game. He's the guy that I want to target in every single lineup if I can, and a lot at captain. I know he's expensive, so you're going to kind of handcuff yourself, but we have value in the flex that we can even it out a little bit. Jonathan Taylor is my favorite play on the slate. I don't think that's some bold take. I think he's going to be very popular, but I don't think that he's as popular as he should be. I think I'm going to have him in 90+% of my lineups, and if he has a bad game against the Jets, so be it. But I'm going to bet on the fact that he will have a good game. Now, when it comes to Nyheim Hines, I'll get a couple. I just don't know that you need him. He's 5,600, and he's projected for like around 6 or 7 fantasy points from a median projection. I don't think that that's really getting it done at that price tag. Can he score a touchdown? Absolutely. If he just gets you 7 fantasy points, is that enough? I don't think so. I think you need more out of these guys. So play Jonathan Taylor, sprinkle in a little Nyheim Hines, and if you're bold and you think that Marlon Mack randomly can get a couple snaps in this game, fine. Maybe sprinkle him in 1 or 2 lineups. But besides that, I'm going heavy on Jonathan Taylor. Anything else to add?
It's not helpful to anybody here, but I actually, one of my top best ball lineups, because Derrick Henry got hurt, is down to Nyheim Hines and Ronald Jones. My season depends on those two.
You're screwed. You're screwed.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm still up by like 150 points. So
dude, in my best ball, in one of my best ball, I'm up by 100 points. I got 3rd place this week, and I didn't even have a quarterback.
Yeah, dude. Like, it's interesting. Like, guys, I don't want to get too far off the rails here, but look at best ball next season. I don't think people are playing. It's hard having you, and it's like a long-term investment. You're going to have your money tied up in the entire season. But of 39 lineups or whatever, I have top 4 in about half of them. So, you're within cashing in a lot.
It's fun.
It's only halfway through the season. We'll figure it out.
Any of my season longs that I'm putting $50 down or whatever, I'm done with those. I'm just going to put $50 towards best ball next year. All right. So the Jets running back situation, this was interesting last week. So Michael Carter's at 8,600. He's most likely priced down because of this, the Colts' run defense. And speaking of the run defense, I know Derrick Henry was injured last week. He did leave in the first quarter, came back. They said it wasn't an injury issue. I call bullshit on that. He didn't look like Derrick Henry. They did hold him to 65 yards or something like that in that game. I don't think that is anything really, you can't read into it too much, but I do think that the Indy run defense is pretty good. But I'm not scared to play Michael Carter and Ty Johnson. I'm really not, because these guys are going to get involved in the pass game. 8,600 for Michael Carter. He had an amazing game last week. And look at his past few weeks here. This isn't just a one-time thing. I mean, he's been doing okay. You get 10 fantasy points on a showdown slate. Might be enough, maybe. But you're looking at a guy with a good ceiling, and a guy who can, look at this, 14 targets with Mike White. This target
volume is insane the past 2
against
weeks.
New England with Mike White in after the injury, 9 targets. They're going to go to him. Now, the Colts are going to watch film. They're going to try to eliminate that. But you can only eliminate so much. Like, this team has 4 or 5 wide receivers on the field, and they're passing out of the backfield. I think he can get another 10 targets in this game, potentially. I mean, look at that. 95 yards receiving, 77 yards rushing on 15 attempts and a touchdown. You got to consider playing a lot of Michael Carter in this game, and even a little bit of Ty Johnson. Now, he only got, I think, 30% of the snaps or 25% of the snaps. He wasn't on the field a lot, but look at that. 19 fantasy points, 13, 11. He's getting involved in the pass game. He's getting a couple carries. He did have a touchdown in week 5 rushing, and then he had a receiving touchdown last week in the 4th quarter. I think you got to consider both of these guys. LaMichael Pirine, $400. Maybe you can get a random couple of receptions out of him. I don't think I'm going to play him. But thoughts on Carter, Johnson? They're priced really well. Can you put them in a lineup together also?
I wouldn't. I absolutely wouldn't. I think you choose one of these guys and kind of build this way. At 6,400 for Ty Johnson, if I'm going to double stack him, I'd rather just probably get to Elijah Moore or something else that's going to give me a little bit more offensive upside.
Yeah.
Right. He's still a backup. He's going to get some love, but I think you got to choose one of these guys. Right. Now, here, let me preface this. If you really think that he's going to come out and get another 6 targets and 7 targets like he has been the last 2 weeks, then I definitely think that it's worth stacking him and Michael Carter. But this probably isn't the prime situation to be doing this against the Indianapolis defense.
Yeah.
If they were playing the Cardinals defense, and I hate to keep going back to them, but then absolutely, because we saw Aaron Jones just eat the shit out of these little 1-yard screen passes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's a different dynamic. The linebacking core at Indy is going to be a little bit more capable of stopping that, I think. So I'm not going to be having too much exposure to both in the same lineup. That said, I will have exposure to both. They're probably the 2 best players on the team. Their next best player is Jamison Crowder.
Jay Crowder, yeah.
And I haven't seen him play well since the NBA Finals. So, it's the dude, Jamison Crowder is going to get a whole bunch of targets too. So, I think what we need to do is kind of consolidate our offense and the Jets into Michael Carter, Ty Johnson, and then one of the receivers that we're looking at. I just don't know if this is a game to stack both of them. And also Samaje, Lamichael, whoever Piran is, I don't need him.
Yeah, I don't think you need him. There's other value you can go to. But before we go on to the wide receiver, I just want to show you guys this one more time. Look at this ownership total. Indy, 370 to the Jets, 230. I mean, that I don't think I've ever seen that big of a gap in all these showdown shows. I think we might have done 70 of these shows at this point. That might be the biggest gap I've ever seen, and I don't think it's deserved. I know that Indy will probably win this game, and they'll probably win it pretty well. But the Jets are going to be passing a lot in the fourth quarter, and this Indy defense is just not the best when it comes to defending the pass. So I think just getting different, if you put 3 Jets in your lineup, you still have high upside, and I really think that you're going to be incredibly different. 3-3 stacks, I think, could be the way to go this week. Don't you think? I know you don't typically like doing that, but...
Yeah, this is absolutely an opportunity to run 3-3 stacks. Honestly, I think I honestly think that even doing a 4-2 stack is still going to be pretty underowned. I think it's going to be pretty obvious that people are going to go 5-1 and try and jam in Mike White as their only Jets player.
Yeah.
That's what this ownership discrepancy kind of points out to me. But this is an interesting slate for a 3-3. And honestly, based on the way that we're talking about this, I'm comfortable with that because I want Mike White, I want one of the running backs, and I want one of the wide receivers. So,
yeah.
I'm not stressing.
I think you have to have one of these wide receivers for the Jets. Jamison Crowder, 7,800. Like I said, there's 6 guys here that I'll play. Jamison Crowder, 7,800. You got Denzel Mims, who, look, I'm a Denzel Mims fan. I can't help it. I like him. He actually had a shot. I mean, look, I got this Denzel Mims Gala 6 out of 8. I've been following this dude for a minute, and he finally is doing something. He's finally doing something. He had a drop touchdown catch last week, but hey, he's on the field. He's getting things done. There was trade offers for him, and they rejected the trade offers. Just seeing him on the field is amazing. He's at 2K, and he got the most snaps out of all these wide receivers last week. He was on the field the most. He had 76% of the snaps. The next highest guy was Keelan Cole at 72%. So I think he has opportunity. He's gotten some targets. I'm not saying he's an amazing play this week, but I think at 2K he has a shot to score a touchdown this week. Something to keep an eye on with Denzel Mims. Now Keelan Cole had an amazing. Keelan Cole, former Jaguar, right?
Yeah.
He had an amazing one-hand catch in the end zone that they overturned. It was super close. I mean, that was an amazing play. He's at 2,400. You have another guy that can score you a touchdown. The next play, or a few plays later, Braxton Berrios scores a touchdown. He's at 3,800. And Elijah Moore is one of these guys that can come out and get a lot of these gadget plays. They're gonna target him, in some screens. He's a dynamic rookie that can really do well. He had 13 fantasy points last week, 10 the week before. He had a touchdown in week 7. I think, and him at 30, or I'm sorry, him at 6,200. It's a little bit of a steep price tag, considering, he's not on the field as much as some of these other guys, but I really do think you have to consider every one of these guys. And even Jeff Smith at 1,200 got involved last week. So if we see that Mike White's throwing the ball 40-plus times, you know that you're going to get at least 25 targets spread out amongst these guys, because he's not specifically going to Jamison Crowder every time. He's not specifically going to Elijah Moore. He's spreading it out from what I can tell. The price tags on these guys is insane. And the highest owned guy here is going to be Jamison Crowder, but he's still going to be low owned. He's going to be under 30% owned. And the rest of these guys are going to be under 15 to 10% owned. If you can get this right, I'm telling you, book it. One of these guys is going to score a touchdown. One of these guys is going to be in the opto. I don't think there's any way that they're not. I think people are underestimating these guys. Am I too high on the wide receivers here?
You're not, and I probably should have pulled this up a second ago. So if you want to fill in for me for a second, actually, I got it. Let's just look at the props and see where we're at, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Denzel Mims, he's at over 27.5 yards. How many receptions?
He did get 3 targets. He did have a long pass called back last week.
Yeah.
He's getting involved, and it could be that Mike White and him have been in practice getting more reps together. That could be a thing. We saw that with Cooper Rush and who? God, why am I blanking on the guy's name? The Cowboys guy who had that 70, 80-yard touchdown.
Oh, Cedric Wilson.
Cedric Wilson. Those two guys bonded in practice. They were getting a lot of reps together.
So here's something interesting. Jamison Crowder, his line is at 5.5 receptions. The over is plus 115. The under is favored. So to me, that gives me kind of hope to actually take stabs on some of these other guys.
Yeah.
And it looks like Michael Carter and Ty Johnson are getting love at 4.5 and 2.5 respectively. Both looking to go over. They don't even have anybody listed on receptions, but looking at some stuff that RG has that I won't share, I can say that it does look like Cole and Mims are projected to get a little bit more involved in the offense.
Yeah.
So I mean, at their price, guys, right? Like, and we'll get to this other side in a second. I think that we're going to see a $200 guy from the Colts be 25-30%, which is incredibly chalky for a $200 guy.
Yeah.
And these guys are probably going to be anywhere between 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
And might make for comfortable pivots. And if we're not playing a guy like Wentz, I think we're going to have the salary to spend a little bit more and take a guy like Mims or Keelan Cole who have that GPP upside that we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
If Keelan Cole makes that, gets that catch, that foot down, and he's got 12.5 points on Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's a requirement on the showdown slate at 2K.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I definitely think that that's important. And here's the way to think about it too, right? The Jets are projected for 17 points. So that means they're going to score 2 touchdowns. If you think Mims is one of those touchdowns, you have to play him in your line.
You got to
because you're done, right? I mean, that means you'll probably get one to Michael Carter or something else, but you need both touchdowns from the Jets to win this slate. So I will probably have one of these guys in every lineup, and it'll be Jay Crowder's number 1. I'll get Jameson. Sorry, guys. I don't do that on purpose. Like when you're playing Madden and it only has the first initial, like for a while there, that was my best understanding of like all these players, right? It's like K. Cole Sr. But anyways, so I'm going to have Jamison Crowder, probably Keelan Cole and Denzel Mims at 2B just because of their pricing. Yeah. And then Elijah Moore is still a target, right? He is a rookie. He is supposed to be the number 2 guy on this offense. Yep. And, I think Corey Davis's emergence has impacted him a lot. Yeah. Like Corey Davis he's been a stud lately.
He's the man. Yeah.
And, Jamison Crowder, we know what he's capable of, but at any point he could stop being the guy because he's tired, old, whatever it is, and Elijah needs to get involved. Yeah. Long story short, take one of these guys. I will.
Every lineup have at least one. That's what I'm doing. I don't, garbage time is a huge deal. You can end up getting an extra 3 or 4 targets per dude in the fourth quarter. Jamison Crowder at 78 is obviously the safest bet. He had 9 targets last week. He's clearly the number one guy. He's the biggest threat, and he has the highest ceiling. But based on price, I think you go Jamison Crowder, Mims and Cole, and then Elijah Moore, and then you mix it up with Braxton Berrios from there.
Yep.
Jeff Smith is a flyer at 1,200. He'll probably be 1%, 2% owned. You can put him in a Millie Maker lineup, and he can get you a random touchdown. It's possible. Any of these guys, I think one will score, possibly multiple touchdowns spread across the board here. All right, so let's move to the other side here. This is going to be a little bit easier to talk about. Michael Pittman Jr. at 10.2K. Lock him in. Like, I'm playing him in almost every lineup. I'm trying to get him, Jonathan Taylor, either one of those guys at captain, and the other in the flex. I don't think that that's a controversial take. I think both of these guys can be successful on the same day. Their price tag's a little heavy, but like I said, we have enough savings on the other side to really focus in on these guys, and don't overthink it. Zach Pascal, 6,600. He's the clear number 2 on this team. If you look at the snaps last week, Pittman, 94% of the snaps, Pascal, 91%. They both, Pittman ran 49 routes to Pascal's 47 routes. When it comes to targets, Pittman had 15 targets, which is insane. Pascal had 8 targets. So 8 targets is not a bad thing. I think Pascal is not a sexy pick. He's probably going to be around 20% owned, but he could make a big difference, and he could break the slate at that price tag. When you get down to Doolin, this is the guy that we're talking about at $200 here. For whatever reason, his median projection is upwards of 9 points. He is the third option, and at $200, if you get 9 points, you're feeling great. But we liked him in the past, but if you look at his history this year, this is with T.Y. Hilton being out quite a bit. I know Paris Campbell was out maybe only for the last 2-3 weeks, but he hasn't done anything that is impressing me at all. He's gotten 4 targets the last 2 weeks, which is good. He had 0 points last week, so I think he's actually going to be a little bit. He's going to be lower owned than a typical number 3 wide receiver at $200 would be, because he just hasn't done anything yet. But I mean, look, it could be.
It's a trap.
It really could. At $200, I'm usually all in on these guys at $200, but I don't think I'm going to be this week. And you could pivot off of him at 20% and really kind of, in tournaments, really get a lot of leverage. And then you have Michael Strahan Jr., $200. Kiki Kute. I don't think you play any Kiki this week. He was activated I think it was 2 weeks ago that we did a showdown slate. He did get a long bomb target. I like him. I don't think you need to get to a ton of him. I think he's just an absolute dart throw, and same with Michael Strahan. So Pittman, Pascal, Doolin in that order. Talk to me on your thoughts here. Is Ashton Doolin a guy that you're going to go over the field on?
Not necessarily. I'll have some exposure. I think 5 to 10% of, or maybe even 15% total of these 3 is kind of the way to go. Strahan, QT, and Doolin. There's an opportunity for all of them to get involved, but I just think that there's more opportunity on the other side of the ball with the Jets wide receivers. I'd rather pay a little bit more. And I think we'll be able to get there fading Carson Wentz a little bit here. So I want to prioritize MPJ and then probably Zach Pascal in lineups that I don't have MPJ or Jonathan Taylor in. So those are the guys that I want to go to. But again, I don't mind taking flyers on these random $200 guys, especially if they're all coming in under 10%, which they should be. Other than maybe Doolin. He could be close to 20-25%, which makes me come off of him a little bit. Yeah. But again, Kuti had that he had 2 opportunities, I believe, on the last game that we did with them.
San Francisco,
Yeah, and San Francisco, I would say that they're a little bit better of a pass defense than the Jets, but I think Kuti and Strahan, they obviously have some upside, and they could get some massive plays here. Yeah. So I definitely do want to have a little bit of exposure. I'm just not prioritizing them. I just don't hate them as a $200 punt to fit in the last
And usually we're all in on these like $200 guys. We just have a really good feeling. We're like, yeah, they can score. Doolin is a good option. I think his ownership is okay at 20%, but I think I'm going to pivot to the other side and pick up some of those $2,000 guys instead of having to go all the way down to $200 and maybe getting a goose egg from him again. Okay, so let's go to tight ends. We got Mo Alley Cox at 5,200. We got Jack Doyle at 4,600. Jack Doyle finally scored a touchdown last week. We've been trying to predict this the entire season with Jack Doyle, and the one time we don't really play him, he scores a touchdown, of course. Kylan Granson had a rushing attempt in the red zone, like in the 3-yard line. They did a little tight end around or something. Just worth noting, he's $200. If you have an opportunity in the red zone to score a touchdown, we should talk about it. Mo Alley Cox is seemingly always over-owned, and somehow he ends up scoring a touchdown every time. And Jack Doyle is always under-owned, and he doesn't score a touchdown. But Jack Doyle's 4,600 this week. He's usually around that, like literally around the 1,000 to maybe at max like 2,500, 2,600. Are you interested in Doyle and Cox this week at those price tags? Because I just don't know that you can really get to them with all the value and all the opportunities on the other side of the ball.
I've never been that interested in Cox personally. That's a decision that some other people enjoy, but I don't.
I'm glad you made that statement, but maybe you should rephrase that.
No, the way you never mind. God. Anyway, so look, I'm gonna actually defer to you. You're the person that tells me when I'm playing Mo Alley Cox. When you don't play him, I've been secretly getting a little bit more exposure, and that's actually kind of resulted in a couple touchdowns.
Yes,
so
exactly. Yeah.
Where are you at?
I'm just gonna be with the field on these guys. I mean, we've seen Mo Alley Cox go off and break slates. There is a chance that him being 5,200 and being around 15 to 20% owned gets you a lot of leverage. Last week he didn't have any points. He's definitely a tournament type play, but if you look at him this year, he's got that 20-point upside. He's consistently getting 3 to 5 targets. He's consistently getting between 25 and 50 yards receiving, and he's got 4 touchdowns this year. So I think you have to consider him. And at that ownership, a guy that has 4 touchdowns is an interesting choice, but I'm going to be with the fielder under. Same with Jack Doyle. I usually go way over the field on Jack Doyle when he's $1,000. At $4,600, I'm not going over the field. I'll be 5%, 10% on him. I think there's a chance both these guys can score. I just don't know that at 4,600, one 6 or 7 points, and that's your total output really gets you there.
Yeah, I agree with you. We'll see where we land on building, but just kind of that 5,200 or that price range that we're looking at for both these guys. I think you have Naheem Hines up there. You got Elijah Moore. It's a little, he's 1,000 more.
Yeah.
You got Badgley, Matt Amendola, and then you can jump down to guys like Tyler Kroft, Braxton Berrios, Keelan Cole, Denzel Mims. There's just better opportunities, I think. I don't mind having Mo Alley Cox. I am going to be probably even with the field, but again, I just think that there's higher upside plays today.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, the Jets defense sucks. So guys, if you think that the tight ends are going to dominate, go play the tight ends. I almost I did pretty well on Monday night and was pretty close by stacking double tight ends. Was that the double tight end night?
Possibly.
And 3 weeks ago, we had Hunter Henry and Jared Cook.
Oh yeah, Jared Cook. Sorry, wrong team. Yeah.
Yeah, or what? Oh yeah, no, you're right.
Was it Jonnu? Yeah, it was Jonnu.
Yeah, Jonnu.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's been a lot of tight end love recently on these showdown slates. I wouldn't chalk too much to that or give that too much credence because obviously every slate is different. But you got to play the guys that you think are going to score touchdowns. And if you think, well, Cox is a guy that's going to score a touchdown, or even Jack Doyle, then at their price tags, you're going to need to grab them again at a 28-point total.
Yeah.
You need to capture as many of the touchdowns from the Colts as you can.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of tight ends scoring touchdowns, Tyler Kroft last week, 2 receptions for a touchdown. He had 10 points. He was $400 on a showdown slate last week. Now he's up to 4,000. That's kind of a little aggressive there, DraftKings. I think Ryan Griffin's at 1,400. I don't love any of these tight ends on the Jets. I don't think they really get the volume. Tyler Kroft has, got 67% of the snaps last week. Ryan Griffin had 54. Tyler Kroft ran double the amount of routes as Ryan Griffin, so I don't really like Ryan Griffin. I think his ceiling is one catch for a touchdown and like 5 yards. I think it's probably his ceiling. I think Tyler Kroft is probably a little bit better of an option, but at that price tag, I don't love him. I'd rather go to one of these Jets wide receivers. I really would. I mean, these guys are both going to be under 5% owned probably, and I don't think you need to overthink this. I don't think you need to go above the field. I'm going to avoid them and defer to the Jets wide receivers. Anything to add before we get on to our favorite subject, kickers?
No, man, I'm good.
All right, so let's go to kickers here. So Rodrigo Blankenship is out. So we've got Michael Badgley. He's at 4K. And Matt Amendola is at 40. I'm sorry. Badgley's at 4,400. Amendola's at 4,200. Who knows? Roll the dice. I'm like usual. I'm going to be under the field for whatever reason. Badgley is projected around 30% ownership. I don't know why. We usually see these kickers around 15 to 20% projected. Now we're seeing a kicker projected for 30% ownership. I don't really get it. If that's the case, I'm going way under the field on him. You hear me say this all the time. I'm not going to let a kicker in a bunch of my lineups absolutely kill me because he gets 3 fantasy points and he just doesn't even get the opportunity to make a kick. I'd rather have him beat me with 4 50-yard field goals. 4,400, that's too high a price for a kicker. And usually, 38 to 4 is my limit. And Matt Amendola is 4,200. I would rather play Matt Amendola over Badgley because this team the Jets can get held up in the red zone. You might get a couple extra opportunities. Anyways, thoughts?
I'd rather play the wide receivers.
Yeah, all day. So Colts defense is 5K. They're going to be high owned. They're going to be 25% owned probably, and they might actually get like 5% in the captain in this game. Fading. I'm not touching the Colts defense. They're 5K. I don't like them. If you watched the show before, we always talk about how these higher priced chalk defenses, they usually just don't pay off unless you got to get 4 or 5 sacks and an interception for a touchdown for them to really pay off. It's possible they're in the optimal, but you can't just rely on the Jets to score 17 points or 14 points and that be enough for the Colts. They're going to have to create turnovers and get sacks. Jets are 3K. I'm not touching them either. I think I'm going to fade both of these defenses. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to be under the field on Colts. Jets defense, I don't give a shit about. The Colts present an interesting scenario here. I'm skeptical because they are coming off of an emotional win, a hard-fought win, or just game. Yeah, it's a loss. My bad. Yeah, that's right. Carson Wentz was Carson Wentzing out there.
Yeah.
But anyways, they just came off of a hard-fought loss on Sunday. So stuff like that is tough to recover from in a short week. I think we've seen enough injuries on Thursdays nights. I expect this to be a little bit more of a conservative approach on the Indianapolis defense side, which I think can open up a little bit more opportunity for points allowed, which will crush their score. So that is going to be one of the reasons I'll be under the field on them. Now, their price is pretty nice for a matchup like this. So I do think that there is some benefit in having some exposure to their defense. But you need to make sure that you're stacking it appropriately. If you think Mike White's getting 350 yards and 2 touchdowns today, it's probably not the best idea to throw in the Colts defense. But the Colts defense is not the Cincy defense. Let's also remember that, right?
Yeah.
This is probably closer to a 250 to 260 game for Mike White, maybe 2 touchdowns and a pick or 2.
Yeah.
So, that's still a little risky for a 5K defense, but I think you're okay having a little bit of them, just not getting too crazy with it.
If the Colts are a little lower owned, I'd go with it. The only reason why I'm not interested is just because of the leverage. I'd rather go to other areas at that price tag. I think that you have a much higher ceiling with some of these other wide receivers that are around that price tag. All right, so let's get to our fades here. Ellie, right on topic. You're going to mostly fade the Colts defense. I'm not choosing to fade anyone. I'm sure once they start building, there'll be a couple players, like maybe some of these tight ends, that might get underused, but they're not going to be high owned anyway. So you can't really consider that a fade. Colts defense probably coming in around 25% owned, which you're going to get maybe 5 to 10% of them.
Yeah, 5 to 10% of them. I don't mind getting a little bit of action there. Just not anything too crazy. And to be fair, I'm probably leaning more close to you on the not planning to fade much. But considering I've done that every week or every show for like the past 3 weeks, I figured I'd at least try to provide some helpful feedback.
Yeah, I mean, usually we're not just making this up. Like we actually play this way. We're not just telling you with all the stuff we're talking about. We actually play this way.
The only thing that may change from time to time is if we do an early show, like a day or two before, and we're looking at captains. Sometimes my captain ownership does change based off of whatever we're looking at there.
And what the ownership comes in at,
For that, again, like and subscribe and then join in the Discord because we will update our ownership expectations there. I don't want you guys thinking that we're still playing, Corey Davis at favorite captain, even though we know that he's doubtful, right?
Yeah.
So come get your updates, come join the Discord, and we try and keep as much information real time in there as possible.
Yeah, last Thursday I had MVS as my captain against the Cardinals. Obviously, he didn't play. So you guys hit us up on Twitter and in the comments of this video, I'll be posting some information too when it comes to injuries and things like that. Let's move on to our captain choice. This is our Crown Their Ass segment.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
This is the same exact graphic we use for the 49ers game. I didn't change anything because I feel the same exact way. Ellie's going with Michael Pittman, MPJ. I'm going with Jonathan Taylor Thomas. I don't think you can go wrong here, especially against the Jets. Michael Pittman is establishing himself as a stud, as a true number one. And I think next year he's going to be absolutely the guy. They don't have to worry about TY anymore. And Jonathan Taylor Thomas is, like I said, I think next year at the beginning of the season, when we're looking at best ball and season-long drafts, I think he'll be a top 3 or top 4 pick going into next year. And I think that starts now. I mean, he's continuing to absolutely crush. There's no reason to overthink this. Throw him at captain and get the value and the flex with the Jets wide receivers and go from there. What are your thoughts? You gonna have both of these guys pretty high up on your list?
Yeah, I mean, these will probably be my only 2 captains.
So while we're here, I know we're going over a little bit. What are some other Jets captains that you would consider playing?
Michael Carter and Ty Montgomery. Outside of that, I probably won't get too crazy. Jay Crowder is potentially interesting GPP play at captain. If he ends up with 13, 14 targets and 10 receptions, we obviously know what he can do. I mean, look, he didn't have a touchdown on Sunday. No touchdown. He had 8 receptions for 84 yards, right? So that's 16 points there, and then 17. He had 17 total. This doesn't make any sense.
Who are you talking about? Sorry, I blanked out.
Jamison Crowder. He had 9 targets. He had 8 receptions.
He had 17 fantasy points.
Yeah, but he had 8 receptions on 84 yards. That's 16.4. So
he had a 2-point. He had a 2-point conversion.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, he actually passed for a 2-point conversion. That Mike White go ahead.
That's right. Okay.
Not go ahead, but it was to make it a 3-point game.
New York Jets special. But anyways, like a guy like that does have some upside in the captain spot. Given the price tag, it's going to give you a little bit of flexibility. And then not to get too crazy, but a guy like Elijah Moore is fine as well. Like guys that you're fading in your flex spot might be worth taking a stab or 2 at captain too, just in case they do go off. You're capturing the highest potential value of them going off.
Yes,
so
exactly.
That's something to think about. But in a game like this, I think you have to prioritize Jonathan Taylor, probably as captain 1. Wentz is going to be pretty chalky. I think MPJ is probably the captain choice number 2. In my opinion. And then if you think that the Jets are going to be competitive, you might need to consider Mike White a captain.
Yeah, he's going to be
they're competitive.
Fifth highest on captain, I think.
Yeah, now if that's the case, then I have no interest in him at captain. He's still a random rookie quarterback, and they traded for Joe Flacco. So,
Yeah.
Again, I think there's opportunity here. Play whoever you think is going to be able to keep the Jets in this game.
Play whoever you want. All right, let's move on. We're getting out of hand here. Let's move on to a lineup build.
Yeah, we spent an hour talking about the fucking
I'm
Jets.
telling you, these sort of shitty
I like
teams.
these slates though, bro.
Yeah, I do too. These shitty teams are easier to talk about because there's so many different things that can happen. All right, let's look at the optimal here. Right, I haven't looked at this yet. Let's see what pops up. Wentz at captain, Doolin.
Yeah,
It's a 4-2. Keelan Cole and Michael Carter are the only Jets. And then you got Pittman and Taylor with Wentz at captain. No, no thanks. I mean, this maybe is a halfway decent single entry or cash option, but I would go a different route. I'd go Jonathan Taylor at captain at cash. All right, so who do you want to build with first? Do you want to build with Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so let's throw both of these quarterbacks in right off the bat and just see where we're at. So we got 4,000 a pop. So let's go over to the wide receiver side here and pick one of these Jets. Guys. So, well, I want to get Michael Pittman. Don't you want to get Michael Pittman too?
Yeah.
Let's just see what we can do here. That leaves us 900 a pop for 2 spots. So I think that we have to go with Doolin in a situation like this, or you could go Kiki Coutier or Strachan, but I'd rather go Doolin because he's the number 3 option. And that leaves us with 1,600, and we've only got 1 Jet. So this is what I'm saying. It's going to be 4 2s and 5 1s all day because this is just the easiest way to do it. You get 1,600. You could go with a Jeff Smith, but I'd rather not. I'd rather get up to Denzel Mims at 2K, but I don't like that. So we got to fade Carson Wentz here, don't we?
Yeah.
Let's get rid of Carson Wentz.
Yeah, Carson Wentz. And then I do want to come back to this build because I think we can, with Jonathan Taylor at captain, we can fade Pittman and keep Wentz in.
Okay.
As well.
All right, so do you want to go with a Michael Carter, or do you want to go with a Jamison Crowder here?
Let's start with Michael Carter.
Okay, start with Michael Carter. That leaves us with 4K a pop for 2 spots. So we got to get. I feel like we got to get a middle ranged indie guy here. So we could go Pascal. No, never mind. We only got 4K left. That's my bad. You can't really do much. You got to go 2 Jets at this point.
Yeah, that's going to be tough too. So I guess Mims and Ryan Griffin.
Denzel Mims and like a Ryan Griffin. I hate that though. I don't want Ryan Griffin.
So what if we take Carter down to Ty Montgomery or Ty Johnson?
Ty Johnson, that'll help us for sure.
4,200. That gives us. We had somebody at 4K we liked, right?
Kicker.
I don't mind Tyler Croft.
Tyler Croft. But I just feel like Keelan Cole. Cole isn't a bad option. And then we can come off of Mims to Barrios or Mims. You know what I mean? Like, this is interesting. We're getting 4 of these Jets in here. Now you could do this. You could go down to Doolin, and let's see where that gets us. So that gets us 6K in the last spot, which is Naheem Hines. Almost to Elijah Moore, which would be nice. But this is a 4-2. Mike White and Ty Johnson. I don't love it. I'd rather get a wide receiver in instead of Ty Johnson. Let's actually try that. 6,800. Can we get... I mean, we could get a Zach Pascal, but I don't want to go 5-1. I mean, I don't have a problem going 5-1, but for this, you can go Elijah Moore. I actually like that better. I think there's more opportunity for Elijah Moore in this game. So this is what we're dealing with Jonathan Taylor at captain. It's a little iffy.
So let's try this. Take Pittman down to Pascal.
Okay.
We'll leave out Carson Wentz. We know it's going to be a pain in the ass regardless. So
let's kill these last 2 spots. So for the podcast listeners, Taylor at captain, Elijah Moore, Mike White, and Zach Pascal. We've got 5K for 2 spots, or 5K.
Let's swap out Elijah Moore for Michael Carter.
Okay, Michael Carter coming in, 7,600 for 2 spots.
Okay, let's throw in Denzel Mims.
Okay, my boy.
And that leaves 5,600.
That gives
I don't mind
us
Hines
or Mo Alley. Yeah.
I don't mind those being last pieces in a lineup like this because Pascal.
And Taylor at captain with Hines in the flex is not going to be a popular build.
Right. And what this allows you to do is this also takes you away your dependency on Wentz. Having Hines over Cox.
Exactly. You don't want. I mean, I wouldn't want to put 2 wide receivers in this lineup without Wentz. I just wouldn't. You get 2 running backs. You get to leave. This is a great build. I'm not comfortable with this build necessarily, but I think by the numbers, I think it's a really good one. All right, let's go to MPJ and see if it's a little bit easier to build with him, but we can get a lot more options. We might want to try going super low with one of these Jets guys that we think can go off. All right, Michael Pittman. You want to throw Wentz in with Pittman?
Yeah, let's throw in Wentz and fade Taylor.
Yeah, okay.
I know that's crazy, but we need to have some.
Yeah, Mike White. Let's throw him in to start.
And then let's throw in.
You gotta get Crowder.
Let's
right?
go. Yeah, let's see if we can do 2 wide receivers. Let's throw in Crowder and Conley or Keelan Cole. Yeah,
and Keelan Cole, Mims, Berrios, Jeff Smith. You can kind of rotate these guys all out. So that gives us 3 Jets, 2 Colts. We have 3,900. That leaves us with Braxton Berrios. That's 2. That's too many wide receivers for me. And that's kind of it. I mean, you can go. You can't get really anybody else. This is a dead zone here. So let's go. Let's go down from Keelan Cole to Mims, right? Or what were you gonna say?
Go from Crowder to Ty Johnson.
Okay.
That should give us a little bit more. Throw in Cole or Mims, either one of them.
We'll go Cole for this. That's 5,300. That gets you Mo Alley Cox or Colts defense.
I don't mind Colts defense, actually.
Yeah, it's not the worst. Yeah, that's not bad. 3-3, Pittman, Wentz, Colts defense, and Mike White, Ty Johnson, and Keelan Cole.
And this works because Ty Johnson is, catching dump off passes while they try and catch up.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I don't hate it. And you could obviously go from Cole down to, you can go up to, can you get to, no, you can't get to Braxton. You can go down to Mims
and see what that gives us off the Colts. It should give us,
5,700 Hines. Yeah. It's not bad. If you're fading Jonathan Taylor Thomas, throw Hines in the flex.
Reasonable, yeah.
All right, this isn't bad. Let's do this. Let's go down to, we're going to do one more build here with a different captain. Let's go low. Let's go low on somebody on the Colts, or let's go like Zach Pascal or something like that where we could fit in all these studs into the flex and see if it's even worth it. Any ideas? Michael Carter?
Yeah, let's try Michael Carter just because we don't have any Jet captains. All right, and he's cheap enough to mess with.
Do we want Mike White and Wentz?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start there. Let's try to get Jonathan Taylor. So we can't get MPJ.
Throw in Doolin and... No, don't do that. This is a fine lineup to just do both Cole and
Mims?
Yeah.
Cole, Mims. Yeah, there you go. So White, Cole, and Mims with Carter and the captain. And you got Wentz and Jonathan Taylor. That's solid. That really is. It's scary because you got 4 Jets, but this lineup will not be replicated. I can promise you that. This is a good Millie Maker lineup. All right, anything else to add here?
No, man. I think just sit in the Discord, work with us. It's going to be fun tonight. Don't be afraid to get weird. This is the fun part about playing in what's potentially a garbage matchup, right? We have no idea what's going to work for the Jets. Mike White's on his second career start.
Yeah,
he could just fall in love with dump off passes, Ty Johnson. So just be willing to play what you want.
I think there's absolutely a chance that this is a blowout and it could get out of hand. I really hope not. I hope this is a good game. I hope it's at least within 1 or 2 touchdowns going into the 4th. But there is an absolute chance. We know this is the Jets. This is the Jets. They could lose 42-10. So Spread yourself out enough that you have enough 5-1s But don't be afraid to put in 4 Jets in your lineup if for some reason this game is a little bit closer than we think it can be. I don't think the Jets can win this game. I mean, Mike White is kind of like a Linsanity 2.0 if he can come out and win a game like this. So I don't know that will happen, but keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on injuries as we go along. There's not really anybody to look at except for Corey Davis, but he's doubtful. Predictions. What do you think the final score is, and who's your low-owned guy that will score today?
I think this is a 27-17 Colts. Low-owned guy that scores a touchdown today. I think Ty Johnson's a good pick for that.
Okay. I think 31-21 Colts. And I'm going with my boy here. Come on, Mims. Get your first touchdown, buddy. Come on. Help me out. I'm going to go heavy on Mims. If I lose, I lose. It is what it is. All right, guys. See you guys later. We'll talk to you later.